to acknowledge the traditional owners of the land where we gather, even as we do so electronically and from various parts of Queensland and Australia. Corf pays respect to elders past, present and emerging, and acknowledges the important roles of Aboriginal and Torres Strait Islander peoples within the outdoor recreation community and on the land, sky and waterways used for outdoor activities. We also acknowledge the support provided to Corf and to the outdoor sector by the Queensland Government. Welcome to another session of Coffee and Conversation. My name's Dom Courtney. I'm the Executive Officer of Corf, Queensland Outdoor Recreation Federation. Mark Squires is also with us, Corf's Partnerships Manager. Don't know if there's any other staff from Corf are with us, but a couple more might join us. So Hubertine and maybe Angela from Nature Play. I'd like to welcome everyone from within our organisation, but also others who are joining us, including those interstate. So welcome. Recordings of these sessions are publicly available via our website and on YouTube. If you don't want your image shown on there, feel free to turn your camera off. But yeah, we do make the videos available for everyone. So just to let you know of that one. I've got a little bit of an agenda for discussion today, but the bottom line is there any other matters that anyone wants to discuss? Happy to have that discussion as we go through. If there's extra things that come along, pop them in the chat or just raise your hands if there's extension as far as any of the discussions and points of interest that you want to raise, please do so. There's also a whole range of resources on Corf's dedicated webpage in relation to COVID-19, but also in relation to the outdoor sector generally, particularly in Queensland, but also national and international articles on there that we publish where we see that they're relevant. And if you come across any interesting articles, those sort of things, more than happy for you to send them through to us if we haven't got them yet, if they're things that you think would be interesting and relevant to others in the outdoor sector, we're more than happy to add to our resources there. Not that I'm trying to make more work for Mark, but he's very good at publishing links to different things and putting together a bit of a summary for people. So yeah, if you do come across any of those, please feel free to send them through to us. We're always looking for more information there that we want to make available as we go along. So just wanted to mention the Outdoors Queensland Awards. These awards are going ahead in 2020. I've had a few people ask me, it's been a weird old year and are you still going to do the awards? But we've had some really good nominations for the awards. I'm really happy I'm not on the judging panel, so I didn't have to make the decisions. But the judges met a couple of weeks ago. The finalists were announced last Monday. And the awards ceremony is going to be done electronically this year. So we're hoping to get as many people as possible to join in. It'll be on Friday, the 30th of October. We've got a link there to the page with the information about the awards. Mark, did you want to talk a little more about what's involved there? Mark's our more than capable MC for the awards, and he'll be tying the evening together, but I just thought if you wanted to say a few things about the awards, Mark.
Yeah, sure. I would just like to encourage people to come along and join us for the evening. We'll be publishing a link to a Zoom invitation link. So we'll be running it mostly on Zoom. There'll be a small number of us gathered in a secret studio somewhere, bringing the show to you live from that location. But we'd definitely encourage all finalists or colleagues of finalists, supporters, friends, and anybody else who just wants to come along, have a bit of a join in on the night. It'd be great to see you there. Thanks, Tom.
Thanks, Mark. Yeah, we have visions of people sitting somewhere outdoors, whether it's your backyard or the local park, with your device, viewing the awards ceremony as it's done and as the presentations go. So in what we call normal years, we've had a sit-down dinner and and done that in a function room somewhere. But this year we're going to do the modern technological business of actually doing it online, but that doesn't mean you can't be outdoors and join us and participate. So we'll see how that all works. It's an interesting little experiment for us, but we just really want to celebrate some of the great things that people have still been doing out right in the outdoors, and there's some terrific work that people have been doing and some fun things that people have been doing too. So yeah, it's great to see the amount of nominations that we did receive. So thank you to all those who did nominate. There is a link. Tanya's just put a question, link to the list of finalists. Yeah, that's on the link on the screen there, and I think Mark's just shared that link there. That has the link of all the finalists there too in each of the 8 different award categories. So have a look. There's some big names up there, and interesting to see the people who have who are on that finalist list. And congratulations to everyone who were finalists, and there are also some missed out as finalists, but please don't be disheartened by that if you're one of those people. But yeah, we're really impressive. A lot of the nominations were, the judges were sort of tearing out their hair on some of them. So yeah, it's an interesting process. Next up, I just want to hand over to Delphin on to speak to us about the research project that which is all about what people are missing from holidays and travel and how people compensate during times of travel restrictions. So it's about, I guess, ways to bring nature and adventure into people's daily lives. So I'd like to introduce Delphin from Experience International Consulting to speak to us about the research project that you've been doing. Over to you.
Yeah, thank you, Dom and Mark, to give me the opportunity to share the first findings of this research. So yeah, as you mentioned perfectly, this research is about the impact of international travel bans, COVID-19 lockdowns, restriction, and how people cope with that. So the main question of my research is, when traveling becomes impossible due to restriction, how do people compensate the lack of extraordinary escape, for example, going on holidays? So if you're interested, like, we identified 3 different stakeholders we could help out with this research. The first ones are the businesses from the tourism industry and their employees. The second are the government, and the third are the individual mental health and well-being. So on this research, I perform an ethnographic research. So it's in 2 phases. This means that I ask a set of questions at one point in time to the people, and I'm going to ask similar set of questions and data later on. So I just have started the first set. So I'll give you a little snapshot of the main findings. So between the 22nd of May and the 17th of June this year, people were in situation of lockdown. So I interviewed 21 people from 6 different countries. And so their profile is that they are used to travel. They kept their job in situation of lockdown. So the first needs from the Maslow pyramid were met. This means that they have their basics necessity met, such as money, health. So they needed this, time to escape somewhere from their workplace. So the first set of data, the results show that the people miss 4 elements. The first one is freedom, as you might expect. The second is social interaction, like meeting with family and friends. The third one, which is really interesting for you guys, is that they miss being outdoors, which includes exploration, being immersed into nature, practicing activities such as hiking, running, cycling, camping, and road tripping. And the fourth one, the last one, is they missing the novelty. So to have something new every day. So I guess it's no surprise that in some countries, nature-based activities have increased and is expected to increase in the future months and years. Another interesting fact is that the people gave around about potential travel substitutes for this situation of physical restriction. I found that very few of them knew about existing online offer related to the tourism industry. And the thing is that through a market research that I've done, I found out many emerging products. A very interesting one that might inspire you guys. For instance, I don't know if you heard about the role play game Play New Zealand, created by the Destination New Zealand. Or also there were mindful virtual guided tools, or online entertainment. So there's many things happening, but the population is not really aware of it yet. So what I found is that two substitutes were used to compensate the lack of vacation from those people. The first one is activating the memory, the emotion and sensation from the past experience, by recreating the sets at home, like looking at pictures, eating the food, and things like that. And the second one, which is very important, is storytelling. So sharing with others. It's why, like maybe in your marketing strategy, it will be really interesting to use storytelling so they can focus, they can go back into places that have been already with you guys. So as mentioned, this research is designed to be in 2 phases. So we currently have limited resources, which means the first set of data is awaiting to be analyzed into further details. So I offer you a snapshot of the report available in our website and also in your website, guys, which I thank you very much for that. I will give you also the document here on the chat. So regarding the data collected, in fact, and previous research, we prototype universal and collaborative solution and strategy with local startups based on this blend of international mentored research, real life experience, knowledge and technique. And so we personalize the solution to the startup business strategy and needs. Then we process a trial to a trial period in a real scale to readjust the product again. And then we give you guys, for the one who work with us, a K-hand product. And so what's interesting is that all the data they collected, they constantly feed the research. So we can regenerate solutions facing the changing challenges, and so give you more, way to adjust and develop. So we don't only provide solution, we also offer a worldwide support network, because with my collaborators from Canada, I'm from France, and I have a network in Australia and all over. So to carry on this project, we are seeking for 3 things. Stakeholders to design new solution or implement existing prototypes in large scale, aligned to bring more specific data for the research. The second, we are seeking for financial support toward bringing this research to a potential PhD level. And the third one is extra mentorship and collaboration to extend the like-minded network and bring new feedback. So thank you for listening and give me some time, guys. If you have any question, please don't hesitate to reach out. So let's see if we can make things happen and help the tourism industry and you. That would be my pleasure.
Lovely. Thank you very much for that, Adolphe. I think people are going to have to put up with my dodgy Australian accent now after your voice for the last little while, but they'll have to suffer through that a little bit. And the only way that can stop is if other people speak up. So thank you very much. I think it's great to see what you're doing, which is really about supporting outdoor tourism and a thriving outdoor sector that does create. So thank you very much for the work you're doing. If people do see opportunities to collaborate in what you're doing, yeah, please, we've just shared your website on there, or you've just shared your website. Mark shared the story we put up about your research project. So I think it's well worth a look, and that's why I wanted to share that information today. So thank you very much for joining us. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much, guys.
Thanks. There's a few things I just wanted to touch on as well. We've talked about the the blue card laws that are happening that have come in Queensland the last couple of weeks. Very important. Everyone's aware of that. I've spoken about it a few times, so I just wanted to just a quick reminder that those laws are now in place. You must have a blue card, not just a pending application, before any employees can work with children, and the blue card must be linked to your organisation. So just a reminder on that one. And I understand the process is underway as far as getting all that working for all the different businesses.
Tom?
Yep.
It's Benoni here.
Hey, Benoni.
We found a few staff have had trouble with the new blue card system because it has to be linked to your TMR account because they've got photos now going on the new blue cards.
Yep.
So if your staff member doesn't have a TMR account, so if they don't have a driver's license or don't have a car registered or something in their name, it's quite a bit of flapping about trying to get them set up. And we've actually had to have them going into the TMR office to be set up before you can then do the blue card application. So it's worth remembering that if they don't have a TMR account, it is going to be a bit more work for them.
Okay, thanks, Benoni. Yeah, so I guess, and that's the number on your driver's license is how they're linking it all together. I think there's a frustration on that one too, is because you have to have a Queensland license or a Queensland account with TMR. If you're working on an interstate driver's license, I think you need to then go and create another account with TMR so that you're set up on their system. So I don't think their system's perfect, and I'm sure they recognise that, but yeah, it is important to make sure everyone's set up properly on that system. But thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I guess it's almost assumed everyone's got a licence or a proof of age card through TMR, but that's not always the case. I saw Kelly put one there with a 14-year-old. It's taken a month to recognise she'd even lodged it. So yeah, Blue Card in the past weren't exactly known for their speed and efficiency in processing applications. I don't think they'd be too cranky if they see this recording and see that, but they have committed to improving that. But yeah, I guess with a new system, it might take a little while to come to fruition. Just another reminder about the AQIA training as far as the COVID safety. There's also the TAFE training as well. This AQIA training is very useful, so I just wanted to flag that again. It takes about half an hour to do, and it's just online training that's free. So I would say have a look at that training if you get a chance. And a few opportunities for grant funding. I just wanted to flag. The Queensland Government Small Business Adaptation Grant is available for regional Queensland businesses, so not South East Queensland, but the others. So there's information on the website there about that. The Queensland Gambling Community Benefit Fund, I don't know whether I've got a typo there, whether it is actually round 107. That's a lot of rounds, but maybe it is. But applications do close end of October, and it's a good one, particularly for clubs in that one. And the bottom one's a little one out of left field. Facebook has apparently made some small business grants. I don't know much more about this one, but they've got it on their website but applications do close next week. So if you're interested in that one, I think it says if you've got between 2 and 50 employees, and you can check eligibility on their website. So I thought that might be one to have a look at. It'd be nice for Facebook to give us all a bit of money. So,
hi guys, it's Kel. On that Facebook one,
yep.
There's been some discussion in the small business groups and that going around Brisbane at the moment, and it's only out of Sydney.
Only if you're based in Sydney?
Yep.
Well, that's unusual, isn't it?
Yeah, pretty sucky, but I thought I'd just let you know
Okay.
That's what's being said in the business groups. I haven't looked into it more.
Dom, I can probably help you with that. I've gone through the application process and it's capital cities. So if you're based in Brisbane, you can apply, but outside of Brisbane, you can't.
What about, like, Townsville is actually the capital of the North, Laurie, and I'm pretty sure there's all sorts of capitals if we need to make it up. Facebook wouldn't know how to check. They don't know anything about data. But,
I think it's based on numbers, Dom.
okay.
Okay, thanks for that, Laurie. I'll
Thanks,
share that
Laurie.
out in the other areas as
No
well.
worries.
Yeah. All right. So at least that's good news for Brisbane people, but not so good for others. Greater Brisbane is pretty big, but Laurie, it's almost the whole state if it has to be for a grant application. Facebook will never check, surely.
You could have that argument with Facebook.
I'm sure they're reasonable people, but yeah, thank you for that extra info. All right, so there's a bit of info if you're in Brisbane, and the top one is if you're in regional Queensland, and if you're in other spots, the Community Gambling Benefit Fund might be your option. So something for everyone. Yeah, thank you for that. But that Facebook one does close next week, so sharpen your pencil and get going for it if you are eligible. Inside the Outhaus, I feel like I've undersold the Outhaus a little bit in the past because I've really only talked about the webinars, but the resources on their website are really, really quite impressive, and we've got links to a lot of it on our website, which makes us look good. But I just thought I'd open it up. I know David's on the call. If you wanted to speak at all about the upcoming topic, mate, which looks like an interesting one.
Can you hear me, Dom?
Yes, mate. Well done.
Yeah. Yeah, it's all about the technology this morning. After this Monday's hotly debated stick or no stick topic, and it actually became quite serious. People were quite passionate about, campfire usage and allocation of resources and renewable aspects of that. This week we're going a little bit more back to experiential education and talking about challenge by choice. Is it still relevant? Is it still a choice? Bit theoretical, but definitely thinking about the inside of that circle that we all talk about when we're with groups in front of people and young people, and whether or not challenge is still a choice in our industry. So join us at 4:17 on Monday via Zoom.
Lovely, thanks, mate. Yeah, and I did want to highlight all those other resources because it is a terrific library that you guys have put together through all those discussions, but also through all the other links and that sort of thing that you've shared through the website.
It's something we need to probably work on marketing a little bit more, Don, because as a grassroots organisation, it's frustrating to go into other meetings and hear people talking about issues that we actually resolved weeks or months ago, or at least addressed. Not going to name any other competing Zoom meetings, but definitely insidetheouthouse.org if you're looking for information on cleaning gear, tents, anything related to COVID, but also just general discussions about outdoor ed. And thanks very much. Hope to see you there.
Thanks, mate. And I don't know about competing Zoom meetings. They're all collaborating, mate, and all building the big picture. So just a little bit sore with a certain ACA member who gazumped us a couple of weeks ago, but it's all good. It was a nice meeting to see a lot of good faces from down south in it. So. No worries. Thanks, mate. And again, I've said it before, but recommend, joining the Inside the Outhouse session if you can. I missed it this week because I was having a sneaky day off on Monday, but I'm disappointed. I like your hot debate too, mate, when you're talking about campfires. So I don't know if that one was deliberate, but well played. Moving right along. Thanks, mate. Industry COVID safe plans. We've talked about these multiple times, but they're an important topic for everyone. I guess a reminder that SR_COVID-19 email address, it is an important one if you have any real queries about the plans and the application of them. Happy for you to get in contact with Corp, but also some of the queries I've received, usually not from people who are in these groups, but I've actually some of them I've forwarded on to that SR_COVID-19 email address because there's been some really interesting ones and really good questions and some, as far as application of the plans. I literally had one this week from a beekeeping club wanting to know whether their activity would be covered under the outdoor recreation activity providers plan. And I scratched my head and I had a read of the plan, and eventually I just thought, I'm going to send this one on to the government, and I copied them in when I did that. But there's all sorts of different ways our plans are actually getting applied, which is great to see because it means more people are able to do the activities outdoors. But there's certainly a few things that I'd never considered that these plans could be used for. And I think when we got together as a group, what seems like a lifetime ago, in late June, I think it was, we'd never thought about whether a beekeeping club might use this plan. But yeah, my take is if the protocols work for them and that can allow them to keep doing the different activities, that's fine. I don't know how the bees do the physical distancing. I haven't investigated that, but it seems to me that if there's one thing I'm going to do, if I'm beekeeping, I'm probably not going to spread a lot of COVID to the next beekeeper because you're in a ridiculous big suit anyway. So yeah, so different things on that, but I just wanted to flag that Sport and Rec email address there. And we've had a lot more people jump into the outdoor rec plan from the looks of things recently because of the restrictions in numbers that came in because of our recent outbreaks.
Dom?
Yep.
Hey mate, it's Graham here.
Hi Graham.
Little bit of an interesting one for you in relation to the outdoor plans, the approved outdoor plans by the CMO is an event organiser has our climbing wall added on a weekend, not this weekend, but a coming weekend. And the Sunshine Coast Council inspector, for what a better word, has said, oh no, you can't do the climbing wall and you can't do this and you can't do that because there's no social distancing and blah, blah, blah. Even though I'd produced our COVID plan and how it works in relation to the industry plan, and they said, no, there's absolutely no social distancing there, we're not doing it. So I rang the person and I said, look, we are operating under an industry approved plan by the CMO. This is the reference, blah, blah, blah. And I also highlighted that I'd done the same training as they had to be a COVID inspector through my Army Reserve work. And this person had no idea and even said to me that they had no idea that there was even such a thing as industry COVID plans for that were approved by the CMO. And I just found that absolutely horrendous and basically said, you're a clown and go and look at the COVID website, basically the government website, and familiarise yourself before you start making decisions on events and activities at events. And now I'd like to speak to your manager, please. So yeah, just so you're aware that there are some inspectors out there that are doing their own thing. So just be aware of it.
Thanks, Graham. Yeah, that's disappointing. I'll talk about it later, but I'm actually on a meeting this afternoon with a few government people, so I might even just pass that on as a message just to say, look, maybe they do need to get a bit more communications out there about the industry plans and about their what they're all about, because that's the last thing we need, another level of confusion. If it was someone else who wasn't quite as up to date with it and as confident in the knowledge that you have, then maybe that activity would have just not happened at that event. So I think that's a real worry, and that could be happening anywhere right now. So I think
it was a very big concern for me that this person was absolutely adamant they did not want this event to go ahead. And I was wondering if it was more of a personal thing rather than an actual doing their job thing, if you know what I mean. So there's that element of it as well, but they were adamant they didn't know about industry safe plans, which really, really confused me. So yeah.
Yeah, thanks, mate. Yeah, all right. I might mention that at that meeting this afternoon and just see what we can do to try to get more awareness of the industry plans and their value, because that's a real worry considering all this work that we've been doing about the industry plans. If the people that are out there regulating different events and that sort of thing aren't aware of it, then it's certainly worth us bringing it up with the different people. So thank you for that, mate. Yeah, I just saw in the comments, just circling back, Laurie just wrote a word. I don't usually use the W word, Laurie, but she said she was wrong. The Facebook grant says be in or near a location where Facebook operates. There's no office in Brisbane, so Queensland businesses can't apply. But Brisbane's close to Sydney. It's all relative, Laurie.
As I say, I'm happy to offer my address to anyone that wants to apply.
Yeah, so that's disappointing. Like, yeah, Facebook's decided it's only in the places where they have offices, and maybe that's the only place where small businesses need help under the Facebook idea of the world. Anyway, thank you for that. Sorry I told you about that one now. I should have checked all the details myself. Facebook operates everywhere. That's their claim to fame. It's not just where they've got an office. Anyway, yeah, so back onto the industry plans. The latest version, we haven't had another one published since the 23rd of July, but there are a few tweaks that are going through at the moment. So just check that website. We'll certainly publicise if they are updated. So, and this is very relevant to what Graham was just saying, that in the outdoor rec activity providers plan, there's the field of play concept, which is physical distancing doesn't apply while the activity is being conducted in accordance with that plan. So that applies to outdoor activities just as much as it does to the sporting activities. So yeah, there's no doubt about that one as long as it's being done in accordance with the plan. So that's the key part of that. That again, that field of play stuff only works, and it talks about not having other persons like spectators allowed in with the active participants. So you do have to separate the activity from spectator areas and stuff like that. But for safety, that's their general way anyway. When we're running activities, you usually see a pretty fair demarcation between where the activity's going on, such as a climbing wall, and any spectators. So I don't think that'll be a big trouble on that one. So yeah, but just make sure, you know, as far as the field of play stuff, that we are following the rules on that one. And I just saw Benoni, do the tweaks include relaxation of 100 persons? We'll get to that one. It's to be decided. But yeah, I'm working on that for sure. On the outdoor ed plan, I think, oh yeah, again, the updated versions from a few weeks ago now, where the big thing there, we got clarified about having multiple activity leaders working with one client group. So it didn't have to be one activity leader for all different activities. And the one about the food service, as opposed to food preparation, cleaning, hygiene, etc., to make sure that the retail food services one didn't unnecessarily restrain the things that we can and can't do in that. So, so the bit about the relaxation on the 100 person limit, as I've got there, we've made a submission about it. There's a meeting this afternoon. It's going to a committee, which after that, a government committee, and after that, it then hopefully will be submitted through to the Chief Health Officer. So it's taken a lot longer than I thought it would to get to this point, but we've got the wheels moving. It's just a matter of getting it in the system, and hopefully we can get that relaxation through. The submission that we put together, I deliberately kept it fairly simple as far as setting out the reasons for asking for the relaxation on it, setting out the case for it, but I didn't want it to be a 50-page submission. I kept it to a couple of pages, gave the examples, explained how we're doing the risk management side of things and why this 100 limit is unnecessary, but also the negative impact that it's having for operators. That was very much informed by the discussions that we've had with various operators, but also the online session we held actually almost a month ago now in August, and trying to get across the fact that this one particular part of the plan is actually affecting our operations in quite a few different ways, whether it's cancellations of programs or actually unnecessary modification of programs. And I also tried to make the point that the fact of this requirement actually requires additional adults to come along to a program for pastoral care of the kids, which is actually sort of counterintuitive as far as trying to keep numbers to a minimum in the programs, as far as not having additional people there unnecessarily. So I've sort of tried to make that point in my submission as well. So to say to them, look, we're trying to do everything we can to minimise infection opportunities, and you're actually making us have extra people there for the program. So which adds extra costs potentially for the schools, but it also adds extra people in the mix. So yeah, I guess one of the things I'm very conscious of is operators trying to plan for school holiday programs, and also back to the school terms as far as term 4 and beyond. And I know there's been some schools have either cancelled or tentatively cancelled programs into term 4 and even next year. So we will advise as soon as we know what's going on with it, whether the changes have been accepted or modified. Yeah, so that's the big one there. If anyone's got any questions on it, happy to go through those. Yeah, so I'm just looking at the comments there. Oh yeah, Benoni, I haven't published the submission yet, but yeah, we can do that. I think it's just, I just haven't sent it through to Mark to put it on our website, but we'll do that. It's not a fancy document. It's literally a PDF of basically an email that I sent off to the government. So yeah, we can do that. It'll be an easy one. We can publish it on our website. But just making a lot of the points that we made in the sessions previously. Yeah, the reason I didn't send it around for comments and extra wording and that is I was trying to keep it short and sharp, and I also wanted to get it into their system because I didn't want to miss this meeting today in case it then took another couple of weeks. So I sort of just took it on and wrote the submission myself with some feedback from the government people before it hit their agenda. So that's where we've got to. But yeah, we can do that. Are there any queries on that or questions as far as the timeline or anything? I just saw Andrew's comment that the Chief Health Officer's affirming of the business sector doing the right thing, so fingers crossed. Yeah, and that's actually been quite a positive aspect of what we're getting, and I think they are showing quite a lot of confidence in the industry plans. So again, we're only asking for this change so that we can keep doing the right thing. I think that's a key part of what we're trying to say in the submission is it's not about trying to do things in a more accepting of risk as far as COVID. It's about just trying to knock out one thing that's actually causing us a bit of grief. So, yeah, Kelly, I just saw your comment there about the term 4. They've inserted an extra couple of student-free days. So I saw that. And the other one is the further Western schools who would have finished a week earlier, there'll be 2 student-free days right at the end of the school term, which I don't know how the teachers are going to love that as far as having a couple of student-free days right at the end of the term. But yeah, it's an interesting development. I think it's not extra holidays, but it will be the school term will end earlier. I don't know if that happens, if anyone has camps booked in for that last week of the school term, how that's going to work. But I guess the schools will be in contact if that is a situation that anyone has.
I know some schools have previously done camps as far late as the last week of school, because my daughter actually went on one a couple of years ago because there was a muck up with camp dates. So just to be aware of that, that's why I threw that up there.
Yeah, it is a thing. Like it's certainly, I know of some schools who like to have a camp in the last week of school. It's a bit of a funny one. Sometimes it can be seen as just a early end to the school year and then the kids go on camp, which I sort of feel defeats the purpose a bit. And particularly when we keep telling people, you know, school camp is an educational experience, but maybe it is that break at the end of the year when the kids aren't learning anything in that last week. It's more of a break than a learning experience. I'm not sure. Sometimes it's a leadership camp for the start to next year. I guess it depends on what they want to get out of it. But yeah, the issue, I think, is going to be how that then feeds in if they've already booked it for that week. So yeah, it's probably a matter of checking your bookings and seeing if you are affected by that as far as the outdoor ed providers. I just saw Andrew's talk of a Friday AFL grand final has gone away, grand final holiday. So yeah, you're happy to not have that one, mate, which is fair enough. Yeah, we have had some strangeness going on in our calendar. It's just been a strange year, but I don't think we need a grand final holiday. It's actually on a Saturday. The Victorians have some unusual ideas, as we're all well aware. So they have a holiday the day before the event rather than the New South Welshmen seem to have a good idea. They like a day off afterwards to recover. So I'm from the league grand final normally. So you've got that one right, Laurie. Yeah, so that's sort of that side of things. I guess the big thing on this one is still that one about the proactive site visits from public health, which could actually address the concern that Graham had. I know it was about an event, but getting the public health people to come out and understand how you're operating under a COVID safe industry plan could be a really good step to avoid unnecessary confusion later on. So it is worth having a look at the contact details for the public health units. They are all busy, but I think, I think I've said it before, the public health people are happy to do proactive site visits rather than coming out later on when there is a drama. So it's worth at least contacting them to see if they're interested, if you're interested in doing that. I don't know if anyone here has had one of those visits to one of your sites, but yeah, I think it's from the ones I went to at the Queensland Government Rec Centres at Talabudger and Curramundi. They were certainly a really good session as far as learning experience for both the centre and the public health unit people. So I think that was the real value there. And so it's certainly even a good opportunity for each of you to educate our friends from the public health unit about what we do and how we do it and the controls that we've got in place. I think it's worth doing if you have the time to do one of them. I wouldn't recommend doing it on a day when you have a group in, but if you have a day without a group of kids in, then maybe that's an opportunity if you're interested in doing that. COVID safe events, which we've sort of touched on from Graham's observation about the strangeness of council staff, but there's actually been some more information about COVID safe events. There's a really comprehensive frequently asked questions document, which I've got a link there. I think it's actually been updated since the 13th of August, so I haven't got the latest image there, sorry, but they've got some really good information in there. And there's information about businesses that are operating on private properties particularly. So they've put some more information in those frequently asked questions. They're well worth a look. If you're thinking of running an event on your property, that even if it works under a COVID safe industry plan like the outdoor recreation or outdoor education ones, it's worth having a look at these event guidelines because they also get tied into it under the plans. So that's my my big suggestion. Check out the frequently asked questions. They're a government endorsed frequently asked question one, so they're basically getting answered by the people who should know best in this space. So I just saw Kelly's comment. Danny did an inspection a couple of weeks ago. Oh, there's Benoni. Yep. So it was all good. Benoni, did you want to talk to that at all?
Yeah, I can. Yeah, so we had Queensland Health come through and do an inspection Friday 2 weeks ago, or might be 3 weeks ago now. It's running away. And basically they wanted us to walk them through the different scenarios of what happens if you've got multiple groups here, how the dining room works, how food service works, how, the arrival and departure of groups crossing over works, have a look at our sanitising folders and procedures, how we are operating when we've got an adult group and a student group, especially in regards to dining more than anything they were concerned with. But we actually we've taken photos of the different setups and different layouts, depending if it's an adult group with social distancing or if it's a student group with only the teachers socially distanced. And we've actually got them printed and laminated on the cupboard in our storage areas. And she was really impressed with that because she said it makes it absolutely clear to whoever's doing the setup as to what it needs to look like. So she took photos of pretty much all of the stuff we had going on, and didn't really have anything that they wanted us to change. They just reiterated the contact tracing information and making sure that teachers were being kept in their area away from students. So it was pretty painless. Did take maybe 2 hours, I reckon she was here. But yeah, it was good.
Yeah, well done. So that was just you guys contacted them and invited them to come and have a look?
Yeah, we did. We sent an email through and asked if they wanted to come and have a look and let us know if there was anything that they wanted us to tweak or anything that we needed to change to be more compliant. Figured we, as you said, better off being on the front foot than being on the back foot and being reactive.
Excellent. Thank you for doing that. And as far as it's pretty positive sort of reaction from them. Did they seem to have a good knowledge of the industry plan and how it all fits in?
Yeah, she did. She had them she had the plans with her and was asking what plans do we operate under in different scenarios. So in some ways it felt like it was a little bit of a test to see what industry plan are you using for the pool, what industry plan are you using if you've got adults here, what industry plan are you using for your rope. So it did in some ways feel like a little bit of an exam session, but thankfully we must have answered correctly because we got away with everything. So
I don't know if you got away with it. I think you were probably just well prepared, Benoni. So well done on that. That's excellent. Yeah, and it's good because it also educates the public health unit people and shows them that our industry is doing a good job with this sort of stuff. So you sort of hope maybe some of that feedback goes up the chain as well to the people in their head office. So thank you for doing that. It's great if people are taking that proactive step to, have the public health unit people come out, and even if it's only the occasional visit, I think that's great. So thank you for doing that.
Well, she had just been at the Curramundi meeting as well that you were at.
Okay. Yep.
So we were talking about the differences between how they're doing things and how we're doing things as well, and the differences between how our groups work and their groups work and that sort of stuff as well. So it was good for her, I think, to see how different centres are interpreting the plan. And she did say that there is some places not doing it so well. And that's why she was glad to see things like laminated photos for reference and the information that we do in our briefing with our groups on arrival to show, compliance with passing the correct information on to groups about zoning and the like, because as much as we hate the 100 limit rule and it's causing us a lot of lost sleep, we were able to prove to her how we're making it work at the moment, but how much additional work is being involved, because we did talk about that while she walked around. So
yeah, no, well done. Yeah, well, fingers crossed on the 100 limit. I know we will let everyone know as soon as we know on that one, but yeah, I think it's great that you did that. So yeah, that's great to hear, and I'm glad it went well. Again, I think it's more about the preparation and the work that you guys have put in, and that goes for everyone right across the sector. There's been so much work in relation to all the industry plans and the different parts of it and how they all work together. So thank you again for that effort. Well done. I don't know if anyone has any questions about the COVID safe events and the industry framework that QTIC have done. I have tried to get a presentation about this specifically. It's been a little bit, I think because it's changed so much over time, it's been really hard to get someone from the Queensland Tourism and Events Department. They sort of, at one point I had them lined up to come, and then things changed in the framework and they wanted to see what happened and let the dust settle, and I haven't heard back from them since then. So I don't know if it's relevant to have a session with them now, but it is still something that I had been chasing up. But it seems to have gone off the boil a little bit with them. So if people are interested in that, yeah, please let me know, and we'll see if we can line it up for one of these sessions. That pretty much brings us to the end of the agenda. So we've got a few minutes left, but as I said, we're hopefully at this committee meeting this afternoon, the submission on the relaxation of the 100 group size limit in the outdoor ed plan. Hopefully that'll be accepted by this committee, and then it'll go on to the Chief Health Officer's people for consideration. I'm actually in that meeting, but obviously I don't think I get to vote on whether or not it's a good idea, because you know how I'm going to be voting. But yeah, there'll be, I think I might get an opportunity to even speak to it, which would be good, because hopefully I can answer any questions on the spot rather than them sending it back to us for further clarification. So that's sort of my plan. But other than that, it's really just see what happens once it gets to the Chief Health Officer's people as well. So yeah, but yeah, I just wanted to thank everyone for the contributions that you have made to that process. And that's sort of still an ongoing one. So fingers will be crossed, and I'll certainly let everyone know. We'll let people know once we have further advice on it. I just saw Andrew Grant made a comment saying we've made it all the way through term 3. There actually should be a big well done on that, because as you know, things have been ridiculous this year. So well done, Andrew put that, well done to everyone in the industry and for Corf for doing things well and help keeping us all open. And yeah, obviously, you know, our hearts go out to the operators, particularly in New South Wales and Victoria, of what they've been through. The work Laurie's been doing for the Outdoors New South Wales and ACT has been really tough. And I think, you know, the collaboration we've had across the borders and talking about how this stuff works, you know, Laurie's trying to get an industry plan approved by the New South Wales Health Department too down there, and that's another work in progress, and also doing a lot of work with the Education Department down there. We are actually fairly fortunate, but at the same time, there's a lot of businesses who are dramatically affected by all of this stuff. So, you know, I guess our job is to support all of you to do the good things that you do. But yeah, I do big thank you there from Andrew for pointing that out too in the comments there. Yeah, and Vinani's made a point about the music camps. We actually did clarify with the Education Department that it isn't, they haven't put out a mandate saying you can't have music camps. There was some stuff early on about COVID potentially spreading through gatherings for music, but there have been other people who've been doing it in the outdoor settings and that sort of thing. So the Education Department hasn't put a stop to all music camps in Queensland.
No, I meant more numbers wise, Dom, because when you've got we have a lot of music camps of, 180 plus students, and because you're splitting them into 2 groups of less than 100, you might have, for example, groups that are in a wind group, but then they're part of a band. So that's really affected how their music camps happen. We've got lots of music camps booked in and coming, but it's just a lot of leadership and stuff like that. It's easier to split groups up, but when they're in a music camp and they play across different sectors of bands and what have you, that's really probably what's affected them the most.
Yep, righto.
But they're still coming.
Yep, that's good. I just saw David just said any industry planning on staffing issues with sessional and instructional staff locked in New South Wales and Victoria and being needed in Queensland. Yeah, I think this is a real challenging one as far as people being able to get across the border and, those sort of things. The list of what they consider to be essential services, people who can travel, is pretty small. So the government, if you look on the government website about the travel exemptions, they are really tight on that without doing the 14-day quarantine. I think, it's about, as you'll hear all the time, keeping the Queensland communities safe. And at the same time, to come up here and do 14 days quarantine, which you have to pay for in a hotel, and that's 14 days without any income. That's really tough decision to be able to cover that just, you know, to come up here and work. It'd have to be a significant amount of work that you'd be lining up for to justify doing it. I haven't heard of any movement in relation to any of those restrictions, and I don't know that there'll be a lot happening in that. I think it's really a wait and see thing at the moment on the quarantine restrictions. And I haven't heard of too many people who have actually made that decision to actually do the 14 days quarantine and then go into the workforce up here. I think it's a bit of a big ask, really, in there. Did you want to speak about that, David?
Dom, I guess it's just a reflection of the last week of term, but yeah, I was at a venue this week where there was a need for 8 staff and there was only 5 available, and we got hammered in terms of just being really, really busy and really potentially overworked, and it's a 3-day program. If that happens and we have consistent work throughout 4th term because everyone suddenly, let's go and do our camp or our outdoor ed program, and we don't have the staff, it's going to be a high burnout factor within the industry in the southeast at least. Yeah, I don't know, maybe there's staff in Cairns who could come down if there's not sufficient work up there, or once that work dries up because it gets too hot. I'm just thinking like out of the box, thinking of what could we do to either find more staff, generate more staff, or pull more staff into the industry in the immediate short term. Maybe there's not a big need, but I've been out for the last 3 weeks. I know there's been people asking me to do a lot of work suddenly, and it's because we're short-handed. So maybe it's something that the government needs to recognise as well. But yeah, we're a very small player. I get that. So the big picture is always going to be the problem.
From my perspective, I've been trying to ask the sector, and I don't know if Dom's got an insight into Queensland, but trying to understand exactly what you said. What is that demand and where are the gaps? Because I've been talking to the guys that have got the fruit picking and the farm picking incentive out for school leavers. Have you heard that they're pushing them to take a gap year and then get a HEX benefit by doing so? So I'm trying to talk with them to see if we can incorporate our sector in that as well, but I'm struggling trying to understand if we are going to have a big issue in this area.
I think it's just the conversation that perhaps we as an industry need to start having, and we've got a 2-week window now before schools come back for 4th term. It's possibly nothing will happen in that time, but maybe not even thinking about this term, but maybe if restrictions are still in place in term 1 next year, how do we manage that if the schools, at least in Queensland, are fully back and operating with COVID safe plans? We're not going to have enough staff, and the people who are currently in the industry who are skilled will be overburdened, and then there'll be the gap of underskilled or underqualified people having to be forcibly dragged in or potentially recruited to come in, which is fine as a warm body factor, but I know as a skilled employee, I was worked hard this week in the specific areas at this site that I was working for, plus dealing with COVID related stuff.
I was going to say, there's already enough complication with the extra protocols, and then if you're working with less skilled people, but also if people
I guess the probability of higher cases of incidents might occur because you've got more tourism focused or lower qualified people, or just less experienced, newbies coming into the industry and going, hey, quick, go and do this. Please go and work in this site. That's a little bit out of your comfort zone. Circling back to Monday's Inside the Outhouse, all about the comfort zones, but working within your comfort zone comfortably means that you should be there before you take the job. And if you're not, then maybe you shouldn't be putting yourself or the client in that position. Just something to think about.
There's also the factor of burnout of the skilled workers that we do have working at the moment. Is we don't want to burn them out before they can pass on knowledge and stuff, and burn them out and they leave the industry before they can pass on knowledge.
And I think we've already got that happening. I think people have already left the industry, which is contributing to the fact that they've gone and found other work. I'm working in another environment at the moment and potentially might prioritise that over going back to the industry if I'm finding it too hard, if I can keep my sideline job going. But,
yeah, and that's a worry if people are dropping out of our industry, particularly experienced and skillful operators. that's only going to be a loss for our industry. So yeah, it's certainly something that we need to keep an eye on and have a watching brief on. Might just finish up on Benoni's positive comment there at the end was all the groups that they've had through this term have been super grateful that they've been able to have a camp at all. So I think that applies across the board for outdoor activities. You know, I've had people from, whether it's people involved in scouts or different activities, able to actually get out and do these activities. I had someone from a bushwalking club tell me that they'd had people just so happy to get there and do an organised group walk one weekend. You know, it's really positive sort of stories, and that's so good for the mental and physical health of those groups and the social connections. So it's really great to see, and you know, it's nice to see some of those positive stories. We focus a bit on the negative and on the problems that we've got, but it's really good to hear some of those positive stories. Tanya just said they've had the biggest spring holiday camp ever these holidays. So that's just awesome. It's great to see. So well done on that. Well done to everyone who's making the positive difference for so many people out there. I had a little outdoor adventure over the weekend. I did a 50-kilometre walk from a property out at Morven, which is between Roma and Charleville. So we walked a stock route, myself and a mate and two other guys decided 50 Ks wasn't far enough. So they did a detour so they could run 60 Ks because the homestead is 50 Ks from the pub. So we eventually made it to the pub, and I've got the blisters to prove it today. But yeah, I think it's so good to get out and do those activities, and you guys play such a big role in making that happen for so many people. I had a few concerns other than the mulga snake, which I was told by the property owner is the third most deadly snake in the world. My other concern was getting lost as the executive officer of Outdoors Queensland and that ending up on the ABC News, but fortunately that didn't happen. So yeah, just want to say thank you to everyone for all the work that you have been doing, and thanks for joining us today. And I hope you have a terrific, those who are on break now, have a terrific break. Those who are about to get super busy with holiday camps, I hope they all go well. And for everyone else, I hope you have a great weekend. Thanks for joining us.